welcome. I'm 2 minutes late. I apologize for that, but I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to find something, which I didn't find, but I digress. So it is time for our May, I know it's June, it's time for our May VIP attendees giveaway. So most of you know that I give away something for our VIP attendees, but I can't do all the comparison because I can't run an attendees report till afterwards. So all that said, I have to do it the next month, but y'all all know that. So let's do a little screen share here. Let's see, let's make sure I've got the right thing going on. Okay. So I'm going to do some screen share with some VIP attendees. All right, here we go, ladies. This is my wheel of names. You guys know how it works. If you're a VIP and you attended last month, your name is on this. Let's see. Excuse me, who's it going to be? June Gerber. All right, June. Let me get that written down. And I didn't even tell you what you're winning. Well, let me just tell you right now what June just won so that everybody can be excited for her. It's a copy of Wild and Beautiful. Excuse me. This is Suzanne's book from our speaker last month. This is her book. June, I will get that out in the mail to you. So it's 7:59. I can't officially start till 8 o'clock. So tell me where you're from in the chat. I know you guys have already been doing that, but let's see who all's here. We got electricity out in Ohio. Uh-oh, that's not good, but I'm glad you made it on here anyway. I'm assuming you're on your phone there. Shannon says her electricity is out. We got Washington State. We've got Montana, and that's not Cindy, who's also in Montana, but we have somebody else from Stevensville. We got Hawkins County, Tennessee, her in Ohio, northern Indiana, or is that Idaho? Sorry, North Idaho. Not real good. I made a D in geography, so y'all give me a break. Got Georgia, more Ohio. Ohio is showing out. Sandusky's here. More Washington, Michigan, Virginia, Houston, Sandusky's here, New York, North Idaho, Oklahoma, more Georgia, Ohio, Indiana's here. Man, South Carolina, what's up, South Carolina? That's where I am. All right, so it's officially 8 o'clock. So welcome to our June. Y'all, can you believe it is June, like halfway done with the year almost? That is insane. But I'm so glad that we are here together. I know everybody's busy, and so thank you, ladies, for taking the time to spend a little bit of your very valuable time with us. I hope you just get so much out of our gathering tonight. Okay, so welcome. I want you to know that at the end of our national virtual gathering, we have like an extended version for some of you more wise ladies. It's the LP version. And so after we conclude this part where we're going to have our fabulous speaker tell us all about chickens and then answer some questions, we have a breakout room section. So this is technically a webinar format. You can see me, I can't see you, and that makes me sad because I like to see all your smiling faces. So after this webinar format is over, our national virtual gathering, we have our national virtual gathering breakout rooms. So they are a traditional Zoom gathering. Most of you know about this, but for those of you that don't, we'll post a link at the end, and then you go over there and you break out into regions. So chickens is not so much one that needs a regional breakout, because unless you're talking about extreme cold or extreme hot, chickens are pretty much raised the same way everywhere, I think, anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Our speaker can tell us. But for things like gardening and that kind of stuff, it's going to be very different here in South Carolina than from our ladies that are in Washington State. So we do these regional breakout rooms where you can go and discuss our topic or anything homestead related in these breakout rooms regionally. So if it is something that differs, then you can discuss those specific things. And our speaker jumps from room to room. So while she's doing her presentation tonight, if you have a question, there's a Q&A section at the bottom. Use that Q&A section because sometimes our chat is just like, and we just cannot keep up with questions that get put in the chat. We do our best, but if you have a question, use that Q&A section. And then if she doesn't answer your question during the presentation, we have a Q&A section at the end where we go through, and that's the easiest way for us to keep those organized. So that is Q&A, the breakout rooms. And speaking of breakout rooms, not just me, but we could not do this without our breakout room moderators. Now, if you guys have been to a breakout room before, you know what these moderators do. If you've never been to a breakout room, you'll see it tonight. And if you've been to a breakout room before, then you are qualified to be a moderator. And if you would like to be a moderator, shoot us an email at media@nlhg.org. Jesse just put that in the chat for you so you can grab it if you need it. But Jesse, tell us who our fabulous moderators are tonight, because we could not do it without you guys. And we just want to say a big thank you and call you out by name for helping us out so much.
Hi, ladies. Our moderators for this evening are Leslie, Miranda, Judy, and Cindy. Be sure to give them a huge thank you in the chat, and even bigger thank you if you make it to our breakout rooms tonight. We really, really appreciate everything you do and showing up and helping us out. We could not do it without you guys. Thanks.
Absolutely. We cannot say that enough, how thankful we are for you and how much we appreciate you taking that extra step and being our moderators. So our moderators will tell you it's fun. If you've never done it before, why not give it a try? Because Jesse's always there if you need her. And you guys know, we all know how to talk. It's not hard. Like these moderators, they have the easiest job in the world. So that being said, thank you so much. We hope to see you all in our breakout rooms. But for now, we're here. Let's move on. I am right on time. Cindy Ball, where are you? There she is.
Oh my gosh. So funny story. I'm going to tell you real quick. So I live where I work on this ranch. And so while you were chatting, the wrangler who I work very closely with called me. So I had to answer it. And I kept trying to listen to you going, I know I'm up soon. I know I'm up soon. So I'm like giving him quick answers and everything. And whew, good enough. He hung up right before you said, Cindy Ball, where are you? So here I am. I made it. All righty. So our purpose for being here, the purpose for LHG, why we exist, is to empower women through homesteading. And how do we do that? Our mission statement, we share knowledge. This is one of the ways that we do that. We also have local chapters. I know many of you women are involved in a local chapter. They're all over the country. If you're new here on our virtual gathering and aren't sure if there's a chapter in your area, if you go to our website, nlhg.org, you can see there's a place where we list all of our chapters. And if you're like, this is the coolest organization ever, because it is, and you would like to start a chapter in your community, your local community, there's another place where you can click and say, I'm interested in starting a chapter, and we will gladly help you get that started. So anyways, we love to share knowledge. In the local chapters, they share through monthly gatherings, and then once a month we do our virtual gathering, because we understand that everybody can make it to a local chapter. And then the next thing is we build community. And that's what happens in the local chapters. They build communities with the women that live right close to them. And then we are building an online community. right here in our virtual gathering. We're super excited. We actually have several women. This is their community, their virtual community, and they join us every month for the knowledge and being with one another. The breakout rooms are great because you get to chat more one-on-one with some of the women who are actually in your area. And then the last one is to grow friendships. This one is near and dear to my heart because my closest friends are women who I have met through the National Ladies Homestead Gathering, and that's been years. And so those are our three basic pillars for the National Ladies Homestead Gathering, is to share knowledge, build community, and grow friendship. And so we are so thankful you're here tonight to be with us. And we're so excited to learn more about chickens, because really, can you know everything about a chicken? I think not. Ginger?
Do it. I thought I unmuted. Hey, so she was waiting on me and I was waiting on her. Okay, so up next we have one of our favorite special guests, and that is Miranda Johnson. And Miranda is gonna talk about our Atta Girls. But Miranda, before you do, I want to throw in my own Atta Girl because I'm super excited, you guys. All right, so if y'all remember a couple of months ago, I don't remember if it was 2 or 3 months ago, we had Brooke on talking about chickens. And this past Sunday, I went to Brooke's house. And not
You
chickens.
mean rabbits,
rabbit.
not chickens, right?
My bad, rabbit. Yes. So I went to Brooke's house on Sunday and I picked up 3 rabbits, which in the rabbit community, 3 rabbits is a breeding pair. I don't know if you're good at math. Sometimes mathing is hard for me. 3 is a pair, 2 does and 1 buck. So most of you will appreciate this. I'm letting my youngest niece name one of them. The niece that went with me to pick them up, she named one Reese Cup, and my husband, bless him, has named the buck Barry White. So there's your laugh for the night, you guys. My breeding buck is Barry White. All right, Miranda, tell us what everybody else has been doing.
Hi, ladies. This is my favorite part of the National Virtual Gathering. I love the knowledge and I love listening to everybody, but this is honestly my favorite part. We get to encourage each other about what we've been doing on our homesteads for the last month and share our accomplishments, maybe our failures, just what we've been doing, and encourage each other through that. So first things first, though, we had an Atta Girl pop up in the chat, and I want to call it out. Natasha McGill just said that she is attending her first gathering in Madison County, Georgia. Atta Girl, Natasha, that is amazing. So let's get to the rest of them. If you are ever interested in sharing your Atta Girl, join us on our private community, community.nlhg.org. We have a post up every month to share your Atta Girls, and I'm going to go ahead and read some of those. Haley Netterland said, we finally had an offer accepted on our 5-acre homestead. A dream come true. We've been dreaming for years. Atta Girl, Haley. Kat Barron said, for work, there was a lot. She signed a very high price listing, got a new client, served her existing clients well. For homestead stuff, she kept her plants alive. Kat, you speak to my soul. Atta Girl. She said, not even kidding. That's a big win on how busy she's been. So that is fantastic. Rosemary Woodall said, Eastern bumblebees are enjoying the Sylvia and Murata that she planted. Let's see. Amanda Jones said that it's not homestead related, but she wanted to share that she finally applied for her LLC for her photography business. So she is officially, she's official in the great state of Tennessee. And homestead related for Amanda, she said her garden is planted. She made and canned for the very first time strawberry jam, tomato sauce, and caught a mostly feral rooster. That is amazing stuff. Sierra Huff said that she got a milk cow and started a milk share in her community. Atta Girl. Sarah Waller said that she expanded her garden to over 7,000 square feet and all of it is planted. Sarah, I'm astonished. 7,000 square feet and it's all planted. I've got like a couple of beds and I'm still working on it. So Atta Girl. Emily Goodwin said that she brought pigs onto their property, researched and found 2 different breeders and got a breeding pair and 2 burrows to stock their freezers in the next few months. Jennifer Kinsler said that she planted potatoes, tomatoes, pepper, and a variety of herbs, mostly in containers. She's happy that they're all growing right along. So I've got just a few more minutes, so I'm going to keep going. Let's see. Bonnie Ecker said that she got the last of the large grounded down stumps mixed in with rock and dirt, moved with the tractor for hauling away. Over 100 trips from the backyard to the front area with a tractor bucket. I'd love to have a tractor. That would be amazing. Atta girl, Bonnie. Esther Arkfeld said this month she moved closer to her certification with the Raw Milk Institute. She's 95% of the way there. She said she set up her online lab to start testing her cow's milk. Her plastic sheeting arrived, and they've started construction on the milk parlor next week. She said that they've added a Guernsey milk cow and a heifer to her farm, both A2. Man, she's got a lot. She baked 16 strawberry rhubarb custard pies, put them in the freezer, and canned a year's worth of strawberry rhubarb jam. Esther, I'm exhausted just reading your Atta girl. Karen Hart said that she got her raised beds planted and all the containers are filled with veggies. She's growing potatoes in a raised bed this year. Atta girl. She said not homestead related. She put in her very own container pond and wetlands in her front flower bed. I say that's homestead related, so atta girl. And then we'll do this last one. Monica Mitchell said lots of planting. Her pole bees are coming up. She needs to find more space. Rain last week, so she's catching up this week. Raised beds and containers are being used to expand the garden this year. Meat chickens are coming. She's getting their spaces figured out because she doesn't want to mix her egg layers with her meat chickens. Spring warming of goats. Ugh. Atta girl for even, atta girl. She just keeps plugging along. She said sun hat and long sleeves for this year. And that she's going to get it all done. So atta girl, ladies, thank you for sharing with us. And again, visit our online community and share your own atta girl with us.
And we had one more atta girl pop up in the chat. Leah had someone request to buy 2 dozen eggs from her. So atta girl on what sounds like your very first egg sale. So speaking of eggs, well, not really eggs, chickens, but which came first? I don't know. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Our speaker, okay, here's the thing about life. Our speaker is Reagan Drager. And she came so highly praised to me with all these accolades and all these reasons why she should be our chicken speaker. And now I cannot find my list. So Reagan, you're going to have to come on and tell us how amazing you are, because I can't find my list to tell everybody why you're so amazing. So unmute yourself and tell us all about yourself, and then tell us about chickens after the chicks.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ginger. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for you guys. Okay, present that. Okay, so like Ginger said, my name is Reagan Drager, and I have been raising poultry for about 13 years now and showing at the Sandusky County Fair for 11. I'm from Lindsay, Ohio. I was the poultry queen for a few years there at the fair. I've won a couple of grand overall titles with my production and market hens, and then I've also been a top showman there. So I've won, I think, a third at a national contest as well. So hopefully I have a pretty wide variety of knowledge when it comes to poultry. Through the fair, I showed egg production hens, market hens, pigeons, ducks, and then also fancy poultry. So whatever you guys are interested, we can certainly talk about it. Okay, so this production is going to be mostly about what comes after the chicks, but I did just want to touch on in the beginning what you should do starting out if you're going to raise them from the chick stage. So these can be bought. You can go to a hatchery, you can find those online, or you can just go to like a Tractor Supply Company store, anything like that. And then should keep them at 95 degrees for the first week. That's absolutely vital to keeping them healthy. And then every week after that, you're going to want to drop your temperature about 5 degrees. And that can be done by adjusting the heat lamp settings or the degrees at which they're raised. If you do them in an incubator, you can also drop the temperature that way. They have that set up. And then something you're going to really want to watch for when you have them set up, you'll probably want to put them in a tub or something really enclosed just so they can't fit through. If you have fencing, you'll want to be really careful that they can't fit through any of those spaces. And they're really delicate when they're at this stage. So make sure everything's boarded up. There's nothing for them to fall off of, anything crazy like that. And so when you have them in the tub, you're going to really want to closely monitor their behavior. So if you look at this picture down on the left here, this heat lamp is setting and it means that they're too hot because they're so far dispersed away from the light. And so what you're going to want to do on that is try to raise that light or lower that temperature because those chicks are too hot. And vice versa can be said for this picture down here on the right. Clearly they're too cold. They're all huddled underneath that light together, and that's not going to allow them enough room to grow. So you're going to want to probably include a couple different heat lamps to try and disperse those chicks. And that obviously depends on where you live, which season it is. So if you're somewhere where it's really hot, you'll want it a little bit cooler in there, maybe less heat lamps. If it's summer cold, you'll want to include more. And so then when you do buy them from a store or a hatchery, you have the option of buying what's called a straight run versus sex chicks. And so what this means is straight run is males and female chicks mixed together. They're not separated for you. And so depending on what you want to do, this could be a really great option for you if you want both males and females in your breed. If you do sex chicks, that's a really good option if you want to do an egg production type bird where you just want the females to produce those eggs. Okay, so when it comes to feeding, I know we had a question on this in the chat already. So this totally depends on the age of your bird and also the type that you have. So for egg production hens, you're going to want to start them out at 22% feed when they're chicks. And so this 22% on here refers to the protein content in the feed, and they need that to develop as they're really young. And so if you look at that bag down there in the right hand corner, it says starter on there, and that's what that will be labeled for when they're chicks, and it has a couple chicks on there. And then as they start to get older, you're going to want to decrease that protein percentage a little because their bodies will stop developing as much, and you'll just kind of want to pull that back. And so that's called a grower feed. So the question in the chat about the baby chicks, you're going to want to hit that at 16 weeks because at 16 weeks is when a chick officially becomes a pullet. That's when they start laying eggs. And so then after 1 full year, they become a hen. And that's when you're going to want to switch to just a layer type feed. So that's an even lower percentage at 16%. And so even though the percent of protein drops as they get older, you're actually going to want to be more careful when it comes to calcium content as they get older. So pullets, and especially layers, because they're constantly producing those eggs, they need calcium to make those shells. And so what you'll want to do is include some source of that in their food. Personally, we use oyster shells. They're a really great type of calcium to include in their diet. And so you can just mix that into their food or throw it on the floor, whatever works best for you. And that can be found, again, at a Tractor Supply store or really anywhere like that. And so market birds, if you're raising a market breed, it actually requires a higher percent protein, and that's because they're designed to grow. So that higher protein is going to encourage that higher muscle content. And then also, if you want to include an extra source of calcium, shells are a really great source. So if you use an egg, you don't want to throw away that shell. If you give it back to them, the chickens will actually eat the shell and that helps replenish that calcium content in them to help keep producing those eggs. And that's a common problem that you'll see if you don't have enough calcium content in their diet. They'll start laying eggs that have, sometimes they have no shells, it's just the membrane surrounding them. Or if you see that they have really weak shells, that means that you need to increase that content. A really great thing to use also when you have chicks are these electrolytes. You can see in the top corner. You just mix in a tablespoon or so per every gallon. And that's kind of like vitamins for humans, where it gives them the extra nutrients they need to build a strong immunity system when they're really young and helps them to grow. Another really great thing for chickens is crack corn. Chickens are busybodies by nature, so they need something to keep them busy all the time. And so crack corn is really great. You can find that wherever you find your feed. And that helps, that gives them energy. And it's actually a really good thing to use in the winter because it builds that energy and helps them to keep warm. And so you can also do that with cat or dog food. We'll buy a bag of dog food during the winter and we'll just throw out a cup a day or so just to keep them really producing that energy, keep them warm inside their pen. And another great thing is hot oatmeal. So if you we buy $1 oatmeal and then just heat it up and put it out there and they will eat it and they will love it. So those are really important things to try and use in the winter as they're trying to keep protected from the cold. So chickens are really, really great for recycling things. They will eat just about anything that you give them. So if you have old fruit rinds, really anything, they'll love it. But there are a few things that you really shouldn't give chickens. And so protein is a really big one. You don't want to give them any type of meat or anything because they won't like that. And then citrus is also not great for them. So you'll want to try to avoid that. So if you have orange scraps or anything like that, that's probably not something that you should be giving your birds. You should probably just compost those instead. And so again, using those eggshells as that source of calcium is a really great way to reduce waste and to help recycle that. And then also you want to be a little careful when it comes to starches. Sometimes potatoes don't really agree well with them, so they don't care for that. They're also really great for if you have weeds, they'll help clean those up for you. They'll go around and pick them out, or if you go pick your weeds out and then throw them to the chickens, they will eat those right up. You'll just want to steer clear of thistle and things like that that could hurt them. And then also anything that you don't want to reseed. So anything that you feed chickens that has a seed in it, it's going to get passed right down naturally into the ground and it's going to reseed itself. So you'll want to watch for that. Okay, so as far as bedding, there's a wide variety of options for when it comes to chickens. You can use just straw or cedar shavings or pine shavings. And it really depends on the size of your coop and what you're looking to do. So cedar shavings and pine shavings are great, but it's better in a small area. It can get really expensive if you try to keep up with a really large area that has that. Straw is really better for winter because it helps maintain that heat. And so that's a really good thing to use for that. But I've actually found that the best thing to use is construction grade sand. We switched over to that a couple of years ago, and it's just been a miracle worker for our chickens, especially the market breeds, because they're producing waste so fast. And so all the waste collects on the surface, and so you can just scoop that out really nice and quick. If you want, you can go through with a sieve and filter it and do it that way, or you can pull all the sand out, wash it, and lay it right back in. So it's nice reusable bedding where you're not wasting as much. And then you're also going to want to include a dust bath option. So chickens don't bathe like humans. They require dust to do it. And a dust bath actually protects them from dust, like mites and lice and other external parasites like that. And so what you want to do, I think is best, is to find a kiddie pool or a tire or something along those lines to contain that, and just add in some kind of dust. If you want to add in, we have a burn barrel, and we'll filter that out and then put the ashes from that in there. You can just use fine dirt, anything like that. They just need something fine where they can lay down and kind of bathe themselves in it to protect themselves from those parasites. And so then during the winter months, you're really going to want to watch your bedding depth. In the summer, you're going to want to keep that cleaned out, nice and clean. But during the winter, you actually want to scrape off just the top of whatever you have and then leave that lower bedding so that you build it up. And then that helps to retain the heat in the coop as well. So in terms of coop size, get this question a lot. It totally depends on size of your flock. Each bird requires about 2 to 3 foot inside and then 8 to 10 foot in outside space. But I like to give them way more than that, because if you coop them up that tight, they're going to drop seriously in production rates. And then you're also going to run the risk of a lot more disease with that. So I try to give them a lot more space. But something down here in the lower right corner, I would only put 4 or so birds in there to really just let them have that amount of space. We have a really big coop outside, and then we have outdoor fencing area. And then we also try to let our birds out most days during the spring and summer so that they also have that outside space and they can go around and pick at different things and dig through the dirt and do whatever makes them happy. One thing you do want to watch on that though is that you're keeping them inside during their production time. So our birds typically lay in the morning. So if you want to continue to find your eggs, because they will go outside and lay them everywhere, you're going to keep them inside. And so they also prefer a private nest for laying, helps them feel a little bit safer. So we include cubbies in ours, like in this bottom left corner. These can be built, these can be bought, however you want to do it, just so that they have a private area in which to lay their eggs. And then something that you're going to want to watch with this is that if you have wood cubbies or anything that's a hard surface, if the chicken lays the egg, it might crack because that surface is so hard. So we have what we call egg mats. They're like plastic fringe that helps to catch that egg and give it a softer landing. You're also going to want to put some bedding in there, so whether that's pine shavings or straw, that also helps to cushion that blow and makes it a lot nicer for those chickens. But they tend to scratch it out, so you're going to want to keep replenishing that every couple of weeks. And again, just trying to include that outside option. Birds don't do as well when they're cooped up inside. They're designed to be outside. Okay, so in terms of breeding, I'm just going to focus on the egg production type here. There's actually 3 different types. You have your egg production chickens, which are going to be your layer hens, and then your market birds. So when you go to the store and you buy eggs and when you buy chicken, those are from 2 totally separate breeds, not the same thing. But you can also do a dual purpose breed, which is actually used for both egg and meat production, although they don't tend to produce anywhere near as much meat as a market breed would. And so some common breeds, Golden Comets and Rhode Island Reds are really great production birds. They're a little bit lighter bodied bird that's going to lay more eggs, whereas a Barred Plymouth Rock, which is the striped one down here, and a Golden Buff Orpington, this golden one next to it, those are the dual purpose breeds where they're going to be used for egg production, but if needed, you can also use them for meat. I tend to stay away from that because it's not as much meat on them, and also the older they get, the tougher their meat gets. And so it's not really a marketable product. And then also, I don't have it pictured, but is a white leghorn. That's the smallest bodied production hen, and it's actually the commercial breed used for production of eggs. And so they actually lay fewer eggs per year, but tend to last a little bit longer than the other breeds. And so different colored breeds or different chickens actually lay different colored eggs. And so one thing that's really cool that you can tell is what color of egg they lay is by looking at their earlobe. So if you look and they have just a red earlobe, it means that they lay a brown colored egg of some sort. Whereas if they have a white earlobe, it means that they lay a white egg, which is really interesting. And so the way the egg production process works, you can have white eggs, light brown, dark brown. There's actually one breed that produces chocolate colored eggs. And then there's also what are called Easter eggers that produce green, blue, or pink eggs. So those are really fun. And then that dye is actually applied in their system right before the egg comes out, depending on the species. So if you were to get that egg right after that chicken laid it, you can actually scrape off the color, which is really interesting. Okay, so as far as when the birds start producing, this was actually something people had a lot of trouble with during COVID. Everybody started buying chicks thinking that they could produce eggs, and they didn't realize how much time it actually takes for a bird to produce eggs. So they're going to start laying after 16 weeks from when they're born. And that's a few days variation, but that's a pretty standard time. And so when they start out, they're going to be obviously a lot smaller egg. And then as they age, it's going to get to be a bigger, more standard sized egg. And so they'll continue to lay for about 3 to 4 years, even though they're going to live for 6 to 8. With the white leghorn species, they'll actually lay fewer eggs per year, but then they'll live and continue to lay for the 6 to 8 years. So that's why that breed is preferred for commercial production. And so then depending on the species, each bird lays around 300 eggs per year. Species like the golden comets are really good at producing even more than 300 eggs per year and producing a really standard amount. And then they can only lay 1 egg every 24 hours because that's how long it takes their system to develop that next egg. It's really interesting. If you look it up, they actually contain all the materials to make their eggs for their entire lifetime all in their bodies. So they'll have all the yolks stored and everything. And so it takes 24 hours for that process to happen. Okay, so this is a really big misconception when it comes to poultry production. Roosters do not lay eggs. Absolutely not. And then also another misconception is that they're necessary for hens to lay eggs, and that is absolutely not true either. Hens will continue to produce even if those roosters are not present. So the rooster has nothing to do with egg production. He doesn't make them. He doesn't affect the hen's production. What they are used for is the protection of the flock. So we like to keep 1 bird per every 30 or so hens, just to make sure that if something were to get in the coop, the rooster would be there to defend against that. And then it's also great if you want to use them for breeding. You do need a rooster to fertilize the eggs. So that's what they're used for. And so they can be distinguished from their hens by larger combs, which is going to be this kind of red pointed thing on the top of their head. And then a larger comb, which is the red on the bottom underneath their beak. And then they'll also have pointed neck feathers. So if you see in that bottom right corner, how those are pointed on a hen, they're going to be rounded. And then they're also typically more glossy on a male species. And then you can also tell based on the sickle feathers, which are these big arching feathers in the back on their tail. And then one of the most distinctive ways that you can tell is by the spurs, which are these talon-like things on their feet in this bottom left picture. And so what these are used for is defense against predators. They can use them when they fight. And so females do develop just a tiny spur. It looks like a teeny tiny dot on their leg. So that's a really distinct way to tell between them. Every now and then there will be a female that can develop a spur, but that's a really rare genetic thing that shouldn't happen. Okay, so moving more to the market bird side of production. What you're looking at here is called a Cornish cross. It's specifically designed to produce meat. So if you can see how widespread their legs are and how large their breast is, that's to produce the most meat possible. And so your goal weight for these is going to be around 7 to 8 pounds. And that can kind of depend on how big you want to get them. Sometimes we let ours get upwards of 9 pounds. But this breed is interesting. They're designed to grow as fast as they possibly can. And sometimes their bodies just can't keep up with how they're designed to grow. So the longer that you grow them, the more risk you have of them actually having a heart attack because of that growth rate. And so you're going to want to be really careful monitoring your birds and kind of how they're developing. And so they gain approximately 1 pound per week. And so that's roughly an 8-week growing period. In the beginning, obviously, they don't grow as fast versus towards the end, they start to really put on the pounds quicker. And so you're going to want to watch that. And there's a couple different ways that you can manipulate the growth rate of these birds. Something we do is actually start them out for 4 weeks on turkey feed instead of the market bird feed. And that helps develop their muscle content really quickly in the beginning and helps set them up for just a really great structure. Something you can do is if you want them to gain more weight, you can turn on a light at night. And so if the light's on, they think it's daylight, they'll continue to eat. And so that helps them grow a lot faster. And then you can obviously turn off the light if you don't want them to grow as fast. Sometimes you can remove feed if you don't want them to have it for 8 or so hours. You can remove that feed and that'll help slow their growth. Another great thing for market birds, you want to build up muscle content. You don't want them to be fatty. So in the summer, we open up their gate and then we have an outside area. So we'll run each and every bird outside and then we'll throw down something like cracked corn or even catching crickets and letting them loose in there is going to make them really active and so that they can gain that muscle content. Because you may ever raise broilers, you know, all they like to do around all day is just sit and eat. And that's about all they do. So you're going to want to encourage them to be as active as possible. And another great thing if you want to do that is to set the feed way apart from their water so that they have to continuously walk back and forth between them, because that's going to help build that muscle. So typically with a market breed, you're going to want to select a male as opposed to a female because they develop a lot faster and typically are a little bit bigger. If you're willing to put in more time, some hatcheries will let you select all females, and those do take longer to develop. However, they have a much more compact body size, and so that actually makes them better for show. So if you were taking them to, say, a county fair, you would want to get them a couple weeks earlier, so 11 or so weeks, and then that would end up with a better structured bird for show. Okay, so I touched on this a little bit earlier, monitoring for diseases in your flock. So you'll want to check, I try to do it weekly. Sometimes it gets to a couple weeks, but you're going to want to check for external parasites like lice and mites. And how you do that is you just pick them up and you pull back the feathers to look at their skin. And if you'll see down here in this bottom picture, what the lice will look like if they're in. We've had a lot of problems with mites in ours just because they're so common. And so you'll see the little lice running around. And then you might also see on this right side here is a really bad infestation of the eggs that they lay. And they'll lay them right on that base of the feather. And so if that happens, you'll have to cut those feathers out that have the eggs on them because they're pretty much stuck on there. You can try and scrape them off mechanically, but they're really hard to get off. And so something that you want to do to protect against these is using Sevin, which is kind of an oil-based product, or we use what's called diatomaceous earth. And so it's like a really, really fine dust, and we put that in their food. And then we also personally like apply it to the birds. And so it's kind of like an intense dust bath for those chickens, and it helps to suffocate those lice and mites so you don't have as much of a problem. And you can do it through the food or on the bird or both, whatever works best for your flock. We try to do both when we have a really bad infestation. And then you're also going to watch for things like dull or closed eyes, abnormal or bloody droppings, inactivity, especially with birds that are like egg layers that are supposed to be constantly active, lameness, so inability to walk, or feather loss. You also want to look for in market birds if anything is swollen or bruised or broken, because that happens really easily. If you check their breasts, sometimes they develop breast bruises just from laying or being injured or rubbing on that sand all day. That just kind of happens. And then on the feather loss, they actually do go through a natural molt annually, which includes 8 weeks of feather loss and regrowth. So you'll want to kind of keep track of that. That is supposed to happen. So that doesn't naturally mean it's a disease. You'll want to keep track of that. Another common thing you want to look for is bumblefoot, and what will happen is something gets in your chicken's foot and then it's going to swell up. Like it looks like they're wearing some kind of wonky shoe, but that can be a really big problem. And then you have to, you can either take them to a vet is probably the easiest option, or soak their foot and then try to extract it yourself. And that can get really tricky. So all of these can be corrected with natural remedies. Diatomaceous earth is a really good one to keep in your back pocket, or just getting something from the vet. You'll want to watch for like avian influenza is a big one. Birds can get coccidiosis, and then pylorem as well. But if you buy from a hatchery, they should be vaccinated against that. Okay, so again, just additional tips and tricks for raising broilers, giving them the exercise, making sure their pen is extra big. Sometimes people like to compact their broilers because they don't like to move and they think that it's better for them to just be in a smaller space, but that's absolutely not true. You're going to want to give them room to grow. And then also, if you want to go out there just a couple times a day and just run them around the pen, just chase them around, and that helps them again to build that content and keep active because they won't do it on their own. And then it's also important for this breed, again with the heart attacks, to make sure that they aren't overheated, because that will stress them out, and you run the risk of heat stroke and then death for that bird. So something we do is just dipping them in water. We'll take them out and we'll dunk them, and then we'll go and let them run. So that way they're nice and cooled down, and that also makes them more active because they aren't as overheated. Okay, so some additional tips for raising hens. Try and keep them busy. They want to be entertained all the time. So there's a fun couple of ways to do this. Something that we've tried is hanging a cabbage head. You just put a screw in it, tie it to a ceiling, and then just hang it kind of like a piñata, and they will pick at it all day. They absolutely love it. So that's something really fun. We've also tried putting in a chicken sling, which is really cool. We just took a branch, hooked a couple ropes to it, and tied it to a fence. And believe it or not, they are actually out there every day hanging on it. It's really cool to watch. Something else you might want to try is, especially during the summer when it's so hot out, freezing vegetables. So if you just dump a can of peas or corn or whatever you have, and then just fill it up with water, freeze it, and put it out, they'll pick at it all day to try and get that out. And that's really good. It keeps them busy. It helps them cool down. It's a great solution during the summer. You can also buy fun little toys like this one in the top right corner here from Tractor Supply Co. or wherever you go. And then you put some kind of treat in it, cracked corn, and then they roll it around and it spills out as they play with it. Something also we use is mealworms. We toss a couple of those out and they think it's really great. They stay busy with that all day. Okay, so just a couple other forms of poultry. We talked mostly about chickens in this presentation, but there's also turkeys, which is obviously a large market breed, geese, ducks, pigeons, fancy poultry. And then those can be used for, markets, show, egg production purposes, whatever that may be. Fancy poultry is typically used for show and just breeding purposes, but pigeons can be used even as messenger pigeons, or they can just be used as kind of a fancy poultry. Ducks are great for both market and their egg production purposes, and the same can go for geese. And something really cool that I found is that if you use duck eggs for baking, it creates a much better product. I try to use them, especially if I'm making banana bread or cake or anything like that. It helps to give like just a little extra rise and keeps them really moist. They're bigger than a chicken egg, and they're also, they have a lot more viscosity. They're a lot thicker. And so that's something I really encourage you to try because it's improved my recipes so much. Okay, and I think that's all that I have. So are there any questions?
We have several in the Q&A. Do you want me to read those to you, or you just want to do them yourself?
I can go ahead and read them. Okay, so Leah asked, can electrolytes still be used for hens? Absolutely. It's just encouraged when they're chicks because they still haven't developed that immune system. And so you'll really want to do it there, but you don't necessarily have to. You can keep doing it as they're hens and older to keep them healthy. How old to start giving scratch and crack corn? Oh, that's a great question. I would start them about 10, 11 weeks because by then they're old enough to kind of digest that corn, and you really want to keep them busy at a young age. And also something I didn't touch on, but is really interesting to know, chickens don't have teeth, as you probably know that, but what they have instead is a gizzard. So when they eat food, it'll go down, it'll sit in their crop at the front of their breast area where it just holds and softens the food. And then from there, it'll travel to their gizzard. And that actually is just a muscle that grinds up whatever food they're eating. And that digests it. And so you're going to want to help improve that digestion system by providing anything small they can eat. We give our chickens maybe a little bit of gravel. If we let them out and they run in our driveway, you'll see chickens eating little rocks, and that's okay. That's good for them because it goes straight to their gizzard, and then that helps grind their food. Okay. You state not to feed meat, but you say cat and dog food, which is okay in winter, which has meat. That's true. I just wouldn't feed them actual physical meat because it gets a little dicey there. Also, something I didn't mention, chickens are cannibalistic in nature. So you want to try to avoid that kind of food. And also if you have dead chickens in your coop, you're going to want to get those out as soon as possible because chickens actually will turn and eat them. And they'll do that if they see blood on another bird, they'll attack them until they kill them. So you're going to really want to be careful about that. So yeah, so cat and dog food is perfectly fine. They don't have that more physical meat, just a dry food works well. Or Cornish rocks is the only market birds, are there only meat breeds? Okay, so there actually are a couple of meat breeds. That's pretty much the standard one all across the market. If you go to any commercial production facility or any county show, that's the one that's used. However, there's a new breed out, I think they're called Rangers, and it's essentially a market breed that just free ranges, and they take a lot longer to develop, but they do develop that meat quality that the Cornish rock breed has. So if you wanted to have something that was over a longer period of time, wasn't as much of a risk of having those heart attacks and things like that, that would be a really great breed to use. Okay. PowerPoint be available? I think Ginger said that it would be yes. The PowerPoint will be available.
Yeah, so both the recording and the PowerPoint will be available for for our VIP members next week, the PowerPoint and the reporting. And then for everyone, the recording will be available on YouTube next month.
Perfect. Can you leave chickens alone for a few days if they have water and feed? Absolutely. Chickens are really great because they tend to be self-sustaining, especially if you give them a large area to run in. So they don't necessarily need that feed all the time. It's great for them to have those nutrients, but they are perfectly capable of going out and getting whatever food they need from whatever area they're in. Okay, what is the gel surrounding the frozen vegetable mold? I think that's just, they put water in it and then they froze it. So that's all that is. It's really simple. You just want to fill up a little Tupperware container with water and then some of those vegetables, and then that's all it is. Should we be giving grit now at 8 weeks? I would push that back a few weeks, but yes, you can. I would start it at maybe 10 weeks to give grit. Okay. If you buy non-sex chicks, what do you do with the extra roosters since a certain ratio is ideal? Yeah, absolutely. And that totally depends on whatever you want. Sometimes we have way more roosters than we need, and that's just because they're nice to have around. Something that we do is take them to an auction. Ours is up in Dundee. And if you just take them there, they'll take them in bulk and they'll auction them off for you, and then you'll get whatever price it is. You can also butcher roosters for meat. It's not, again, as much meat as a meat variety, but they will give you a lot more meat than the hens will. So everyone handle that. And when do they need to start dirt baths? As soon as you can. It's great if you provide that right away. I'd say right around 5 or 6 weeks is when they should really start having that. As soon as they develop feathers is when you're going to want to provide that for you. So if you just include a little container with some dust, or if you're using the sand option in your coop, that works too. They'll use whatever.
Reagan, thank you so much. That was amazing. And I think Reagan is going to jump over to the breakout rooms with us. So if you didn't get your question in here, you can ask her there. But before we do that, we have to give some more stuff away, because y'all know I love to give stuff away. I would give everything away if I could, but they won't let me. So I have to limit myself. So we will start with where we always start, and that is with all our VIPs. So if you are a VIP member, you're in this drawing, and as always, it's a total glare, but it's just a magazine bundle like we do every month. So let me share my screen, and oh, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? All VIPs. Okay. All right. So here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. All right. This is all VIPs. If you're a VIP member, your name magazine bundle here for the taking. Look at all those VIP members. I'm so excited. And our winner is Evelyn. All right, way to go, Evelyn. Evelyn Corrigan. All right, from North Kootenai chapter. Congratulations on your magazine bundle. Okay, so next we're going to do, next I'm going to tell you what I'm going to give away next month. Now this is for all our VIP attendees. So that giveaway was if you're a VIP member, regardless of whether or not you show up to our national virtual gatherings, you are entered into the drawing. This giveaway, like I did at 7:55 tonight, I gave away to June Gerber this book from our speaker last month. So our VIP giveaway for next month that we're going to do is Butchering Chickens, a guide to humane small scale processing. So it's a pretty nice little book here, talks about chicken butchering. It shows you how to cut up the chicken and everything. So this I will give away at 7:55 in July. Can you believe that, y'all? Oh my goodness. All right. So VIP attendees. So that's if you're on here tonight and you really want that book and you're not a VIP member, I run the report based on a date. So it doesn't matter if you joined this morning or at 11:59 tonight. When I run my report, you will be considered a VIP member. So if you want to join us for all the great benefits, not just the giveaways, but all the extra giveaways, because we give away all kind of stuff, you can join us and you just go to nlhg.org and there's a join us button. You can do it there. And then you'll be in the drawing for next month. Okay, but for this month, I'm going to give away to everybody that is on here. So if you're on here, regardless of whether or not you are a VIP member, you are going to be in this drawing. And I'm giving away these super cute little signs. All right, so there's kind of a glare. Lay me an egg as fast as you can. Cute little sign, and be a good egg, because we all we're talking about chickens, so we gotta have chicken prizes. All right, so put those down so I can have all my hands. And we are going to do all attendees. So here we go, sharing my screen, all attendees. Good luck, everybody. Big money, no whammy. Big money, no whammy. And we have the Bush family. Whoever's registered as the Bush family. Hopefully that's how you registered for the event. If it's not how you registered for the event, then you may not get your thing, but you can throw something in the chat if that's not what you put on your registration. Okay, so that is my giveaways. I just want to thank everybody for attending. You guys have been awesome. We're going to jump to the breakout rooms, and we are so glad that everybody was here tonight to hear this wonderful presentation. Have a great month.